Hey guys, Miss Landry here. Today we are going to go over really briefly what density is and what it is not. So I don't have guided notes for this one because it's really short. It's only 7 slides. Should only take about 10 minutes, and then there's a practice worksheet. So I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what we're doing as we go. I don't think it'll be super hard. So right in. So what is density? The easiest way to understand density is through its equation hang on, let me get the pencil, right here. So density is equal to mass over volume. So we're looking at two variables, mass and volume. You can get those variables a couple of different ways. So mass, you're going to get from weighing it. So it's either on a scale or it's given. And then volume, you can get in one of two ways. You can get it either by knowing the volume, like if it's a liquid, or by displacement, which is what we did in our pasta lab in class. So we figured out the volume by putting it into water and seeing how much of the water was displaced. So that's another way that you can determine volume. So if density equals mass over volume, it's pretty simple. That's a very easy algebra equation. The unit is going to depend on how it was derived. So depending on what your mass is, you could have grams, you could have milligrams, you could have kilograms, but usually it's some kind of grams. And then if it's a volume, it'll be in milliliters. If it's a solid, it'll be in centimeters squared or something similar. Those are pretty much equal. So your unit, just take a look at what you have given to you, and your unit will just be based on that. So it's pretty simple. Let's try a problem. Like I said, it's a very simple problem. So here we have a brick, and the brick was weighed, and it weighs 4,500 grams. We did a volume test, so we put it into a solution of liquid, and the difference was 650 centimeters cubed. So what would that be? I'm going to give you guys a chance to go ahead and do that on a little piece of paper, and we'll see if you guys get the same answer I got. So I'll give you just a second now. All right, so let's see how you do. It's a very simple problem. Remember that D equals M over V is our basic equation. So we're given mass. Our mass is the 4,500 grams. And then our given volume is 650 centimeters cubed. So all you do is put that into the equation, and there's your answer. Hopefully you guys got something close to that. But it's just 6.92 grams centimeters cubed. And again, we got those units in the problem. So there's our grams and there's our centimeters cubed. So very simple problem. Those are like gimmies on the test. So hopefully you guys will get those. The nice thing about density is that it's a very simple problem to manipulate. So you're given this basic algebraic equation right here. And depending on what variables you're given in a problem, you can solve for any of those. So if we just manipulate that around, let's say that we're given density and volume, then we can solve for mass, and we can figure out how much something weighs. If we're given density and mass, we can actually figure out the volume. So all you have to do is figure out what you're given, figure out what you're solving for, rework the problem, and then just plug and chug. So it's really simple. That's going to be your practice worksheet, is kind of figuring that out. Don't worry about being wrong. This is for us to practice, and we're going to go over it in class. It's not a bad thing. One of the things I really want you guys to understand is that density does not equal mass. Okay, those are not the same thing. Remember that we have the equation density is mass over volume. So obviously density and mass are not equal, okay? So understand that density is actually the mass of an object in the amount of volume that it takes up. It's a physical property, meaning each element has its own density. If you think about a feather versus a piece of lead, they're going to have very different masses. And we're going to look at some of those masses in class. It's also what we call an intrinsic property, meaning that the amount that you have doesn't change the density. So the density is intrinsic. It doesn't matter how much of the actual material you have, the density doesn't change. What I have right here is an example of what we did in our pasta lab. So if you graph mass by volume, and then you calculate your slope, which if you remember is delta y over delta x, that slope is your density. So we're actually going to look and see how close we got to the actual density of the pasta. And hopefully you guys got pretty close, but it's kind of cool. What I want you guys to do is on Canvas with this video, there is also a worksheet, so make sure you complete the worksheet. We're going to be going over those problems in class. I will be checking to make sure that they're complete, so make sure that they are complete. And then if you remember, we did our lab in class, so you have to make sure that you figure out your densities, get your graph done so that we can also go over that in class. So that's it for today. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome night.